Thanks for joining us on our introduction to sustainable investing. I thought I'd just spend 2 minutes to demystify and help explain a little bit about what sustainable investing is. There's lots of words thrown around the profession: ethical investing, sustainable, responsible, ESG, SRI, governance, but what do they all mean? Up until fairly recently, it's been difficult for investors to have good alignment between some of their personally held values, beliefs, practices, and their investments or their investment capital. With the evolution of more and more investment products and available investments, there's now an easier way for investors to be able to align their personal beliefs, values, morals with the investments they own and hold. So what exactly is sustainable or responsible investing? It's investing in a manner which the investor doesn't purely consider the financial outcomes. They also consider the environmental, the social, the ethical, the sustainable, or the governance implications of investing in a business. So instead of being a one-dimensional investment decision, it's a multifaceted investment decision. So why would someone invest in a sustainable or an ethical manner? Well, there's several reasons. One, it might be a personal passion of yours. We have many clients who have been asking us, is it possible to better align their investments with their personal held beliefs? Secondly, there's more and more investment research and data suggesting that companies which are moving or have moved to a more climate aware, ethically conscious mindset and approach to their business operations are experiencing and providing higher returns and better returns to their shareholders and stakeholders. And the third reason is that there are more and more investment products available for clients. Up until 10 or 12 years ago, it was the case that if you wanted to invest in a green fund, there was only one or two to pick from. They excluded most mining companies, ended up holding pretty much just banks and supermarkets, so you ended up with a very skewed investment portfolio that at some times did really, really well, at other times did really, really poorly, but was quite different to a broad-based Australian share market investment. That's no longer the case. Today, in 2021, there are nearly 50 Australian investments which are sustainable, ethical, or have that categorization, and over 50 international investments. So there's a great choice for investors to choose from to find funds and investments that are tailored to their specific needs and preferences. So what does a sustainable or responsible investment look like? Some of the investments use negative screens. That means they take out companies that maybe produce tobacco, those that are involved in making weapons, those that have poor records or using child labour, and those that are maybe not too good on their environmental scorecard. Along with the negative screens, many investment firms also use positive screens. So they allocate or reward companies with good environmental scorecards or good greenhouse emissions gas scorecards, so they tilt more of their money towards those investments and in a sense reward companies who are thought leaders and future focused and future driven. So what is the end result for an investor who invests this way? There's more and more evidence which suggests that investing in a sustainable or responsible manner no longer costs the investor in the way of foregone returns. In fact, there's more data which is starting to suggest the opposite, that perhaps investing in companies which do have a good corporate governance, good environmental scorecard, results in higher investment returns for investors. Now, we're not suggesting that this is an investment case, that you should invest in these sorts of investments because of the higher expected return, but we are seeing more and more evidence that it's no longer the case that you have to sacrifice returns in order to invest in unison with your values. And the latest performance table from the Responsible Investment Association of Australasia supports this. Here are the number for 1, 3, 5 and 10-year returns for the funds covered as part of their database, which show that investors no longer have to sacrifice returns in order to invest in this manner. So, what are the costs or risks of sustainable investing? Firstly, if not done with a good deal of thought and done carefully, you can lose diversification. So you can end up with a very concentrated portfolio, which will do vastly different things at different times, which might not suit many investors at all. Secondly, you're never going to end up with a portfolio which is perfectly aligned to your personal goals and values. But remember, all we're trying to do is get a little bit further away from some of the companies or activities that maybe don't suit our personal values and beliefs, and get a little bit closer to companies who are doing things in a manner which we think is sustainable and responsible. A third risk might be that you will end up not owning some high-performing companies or stocks, and that is a risk of investing. But we can counter that by sensible diversification and keeping an eye on your investment portfolios over time. Sustainable investing isn't necessarily about being an activist or an investment activist. You're not withholding your investment money from a company in order to try and influence their decisions or their policies per se, nor is it a replacement for giving donations or charitable work. Sustainable investing is more about you being selective of where you derive your profits from and passively supporting industries and companies that are operating in a manner which you think is sustainable and responsible. So where to from here? Well, for our clients, I personally will be in touch with you to discuss your investment preferences, and if this is something you'd like more information from, I'll be in touch to share with you our thoughts and our insights on how you can migrate to a more sustainable investment portfolio. As always, if you have any questions, please call or email.